Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Prospective, and today I will be talking about MLB stats. I will definitely be letting you know what's going on in the NBA because now we're down to our final four teams. We're down to two teams on the Eastern side of things, and we're on to the Western Conference. So you got the Eastern Conference teams, the best two teams is left, which I'm surprised, and I know a lot of people are. But injuries played a big factor into this, and let's just say so, But I believe that it's good because it's two new teams. Well, actually, it's one new team, and one new team that I believe the market right now is dying for them to go to the NBA finals. And then you have two teams that are actually making history. You have Minnesota Timberwolves, they're back again in the conference finals. And then you have OKC as one of the better teams that's playing right now. And they're saying this is the first time in history that you'll see a team that's not from Los Angeles or Texas that's actually in the conference championship. So that's a lot to, digest. And when you break it down and talk about these things in sports, it's just good to know that it's kind of something fresh in the NBA. I want to know how the ratings are going to be. Tonight, it all starts off too with the Minnesota Timberwolves and OKC Thunder. But before I really get deep off into that, I want to talk about to WNBA, what's been going on. There's been a lot of stuff been going on, a lot of exciting things to be happy about right now. And it was three teams that I picked, two from the NFL. And I want to talk about those teams who I feel like they were non-playoff teams, and I believe right now they have a good chance to build. And there's two teams in there who I'm definitely not surprised. And then it was like one of the teams who doesn't really surprise me, but I feel like with the new coaches and all that's going to these teams, I believe it's going to be some really good teams right now. And I believe that they'll be able to slide or even make a close push to going into the playoffs. I want to start off right now and I want to get into everything that's going on in MLB. I want to talk about some of my MLB stats right now. And with my MLB stats, I just want to talk about certain things and what's going on around the league and some things that I've noticed and basically picked up on and did my studies on. I want to start off right now and I want to talk about one of my own players, from the Detroit Tigers, Javier Baez. Javier Baez of the Tigers is the first player in MLB history to hit a walk-off home run for a second lead flipping three-plus run homer of the game. Lead flipping meaning turning the lead or a deficit into a lead. And that was something that I believe that was historic because in that game, I also thought that we wasn't going to win the game that happened on May the 13th. I thought that that game was over, but it was cool because at the very last minute when they played the Red Sox, I said, okay, let's see what he got to offer right now because Javier Baez is one of those guys. I know me, my boy E-Buck, my boy Eric Mayweather, and a lot of huge baseball fans wasn't so happy about. We actually went to Tiger games where people booed Javier Baez. I'm talking about everybody booed him. And I witnessed it to now he's being one of the hometown heroes. Him and another guy and Spencer Torkelson that we looked like we were about to write off and just move on from are the guys that's really holding the weight of this team right now. So I'm very proud to say that. I want to go off into the Braves having an altered one run losing and one run wins in seven straight games. That is the longest such streak by any team in MLB history. Right now, the Braves were struggling. I believe that they're still kind of struggling, but they're getting closer to making their way to 500 if they wasn't already. The Pittsburgh Pirates, Paul Skeens, one of the best, I may add, in the game right now. Since May the 13th made his 15th career road start in St. Louis last week, he owns a 1.36 road ERA, the lowest ERA in MLB pitcher through his first 15 road starts of all time since ERA tracked in both leagues in 1913. So yeah, that's pretty big. That lets you know that Skeens is probably one of the best aces in the game right now. If he can continue to stay healthy, I believe that he will be. The Padres are the first MLB team to score 20 plus runs and have starters throw 9 inning shutouts since the Red Sox stocking did so against the Baltimore Orioles in August the 10th, 1889. None of us was even thought of back then. Shane Smith is the only MLB pitcher to have a sub 2.50 ERA over his first 8 career starts, but have a team lose 7 of his 8 games since the ERA became official in both leagues in 1913. And this was tracked on May the 11th, 2025. Including the 2025 Twins, there has now been 28 instances in the division era since 1969 of an MLB team winning 13 plus straight games in a single regular season. Of the previous 27 teams, 26 went home that year without winning the World Series, all except the Twins in 1991. So I guess they feel like history will repeat itself. We'll have to see about that because they're in the same division as my Detroit Tigers. This includes 1994 Royals, who lost any chance of potentially winning a World Series that year when the rest of the season canceled due to strike. That's pretty interesting. But I wanted to get that out the way and kind of dissect and let you guys know what I was going to do as far as baseball. I don't want to get to the point where I get too involved because I don't know how many fans out there are really huge baseball fans, but I definitely want to throw that in because I'm a huge MLB fan myself. I want to get started too, and I want to get into, of course, the NBA Final Four teams, Eastern and Western Conference. Starting off with the Minnesota Timberwolves and LKC Thunder. This one's going to be a good one because I believe the matchups in this, it all starts with whatever Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert can do. And I like Nas Reed. There's a couple of guys over there who I feel like people is not giving really too much credit for. Julius Randle and DiVincenzo. Those two guys left a really good team in the New York Knicks. And it's weird, too, to see that now they're over and they're one of the final four teams with the New York Knicks over in the Eastern Conference. I definitely don't hope that it'll be the Knicks and, the Minnesota Timberwolves, but you'll never know. And that'd be crazy because when you look at it, you're going to see a lot of things happen if that ever did transpire because you have DiVincenzo and Julius Randle who didn't want to be traded and felt like they got thrown out on a good team. But then you go over to a really good up and coming franchise and you got a really good young player in Anthony Edwards who is starting to sell to be one of the top 5 players in the game. That will materialize and that'll be really good parody and that'll be like somebody scripted that because I like the fact that they're looking at what's going on with the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks as a script, a WWE script, as that being said for all my wrestling fans out there. It's cool to see that too with the New York Knicks playing the Indiana Pacers because these teams kind of hate each other. I love the history too with like the Davis boys. You had Patrick Ewing and Oakley and all those guys on the Knicks. And, of course, your Reggie Miller, who, it was incredible the performance he had. I think it was like 3 seconds left, man. And he scored all of like 9 points to go up and actually win that game and then put up the choke sign as he left, beating the New York Knicks. That was just great. I don't know if it'll be that good, but I know that it's going to be good too because Obi Toppin, and I've said that before, played for the Knicks, and I know he's feeling some kind of way. He's been playing incredible right now for the Pacers. And when you got Tyrese Halliburton and Naismith, you got, guys like Pascal Siakam. There's a lot of guys over there that people don't really pay attention to because you don't see them a lot on TV. And now you're going to see these guys playing at their very best, but don't really take away from what the New York Knicks did too. They beat the Detroit Pistons, and the Detroit Pistons gave them all they can handle. And then they did the same thing to the Boston Celtics, which we know they're kind of injured and banged up. But then I look at it too, like I still didn't trust their coaching. And those guys not being healthy was an Achilles heel. And I believe the healthiest team always move on. But you got to give credit to the New York Knicks too, because Jalen Brunson paid exceptionally well. You had Cat play good. The whole team stepped their game up and they showed that they belong. So don't take any credit away from the New York Knicks because they definitely belong here right now. I just want to say it's going to be a really good series. But if I have to give the advantage right now, I don't really know. I feel like right now the Knicks has probably the better roster. So I would give them a slight advantage, but like I said, you can't take anything from what the Pacers did, beating Cleveland and embarrassing them. And I still feel like that they are one of the teams that you need to definitely pay attention to. Tyrese Halliburton is just as dangerous as your Jalen Bronson, but I give a slight advantage. I maybe would say a 3.5 or 3.5 point favorite to the New York Knicks to move on and advance to the finals. But when you look at the other side too, on the Western Conference side, I would say OKC just a really strong team. But you can't take away from what the Minnesota Timberwolves did. You got Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid are three of the, guys that I feel like that affect the game. But then you look at Julius Randle and you got DiVincenzo that's over there as well. That team can go off and they can play against the best of them. It's going to be about matchups right now, too. And I feel like one of the better matchups right now is more or less the New York Knicks and the Pacers, but I still gave New York Knicks a slight advantage for that team being together longer. They're about the same as far as the size and physicality, but Jalen Bronson is my X factor in the East. In the West, I would have to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, even though no disrespect to Anthony Edwards. But I just feel like right now, when you look at the two teams, what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is doing, especially after playing the Denver Nuggets, he's showing that he belongs and he's the MVP this season, bar none. That should just settle that right now because I still feel like some of the numbers the Joker was putting up that he deserved to be still in that conversation. But give it to the person who deserved it. And I believe it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, if you want to say, no pun intended. I just feel like that team is just solid all around. They had the chemistry and they had the pedigree to beat a Denver Nuggets team. But then when you look at it, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and you have just really a strong core guy at home. I just don't really feel like they will be touched. I love Holmgren. We loved him since the Gonzaga days for the people who watch college basketball. And I just feel like the two Jaden Williams guys are going to step their game up too. And I just believe that, the biggest mistake the Knicks did was, let their center leave and go over there too to the OKC because now Chet Holmgren don't have to play that position. He could shoot and he could play the power forward position. But I just still feel like when you look at these teams too, when you match them up, I just still feel like right now the best roster is OKC. And no disrespect to, like I said to the Minnesota Timberwolves, I just feel like they're a stronger roster, just up and down. And when you look at this team too, I just feel like they had what it took last year and just couldn't move on. But when you got Isaiah Hardenstein over there now, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for this gentleman's name. Just feel like he was the heart and soul of the New York Knicks. Yeah, you get a good, more hybrid big man over there in Cat, but I still feel like they needed somebody with the grit of Isaiah Hardenstein who could grab rebounds, block shots, get back to dirty baskets. But when you look at this matchup too, if I had to grade or if I had to give the advantage, I actually feel like the youth is something that Minnesota has, but definitely OKC because they're younger and they got their whole roster through the draft. So I'm going to go with them. And I don't really know what the advantage is right now with what they're giving them tonight, but I'm about to look it up because if I had to choose, I would give them a 6.5 point favor. Actually, I was close. They gave OKC a 7.5 point favor. They're at home. I still feel like in this matchup right now that they can win this one, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win in a gentleman's sweep because I feel like they embarrassed, the Denver Nuggets that last game. It was a really good competition, and I feel like if it wasn't for, you having your Russell Westbrooks and then, having, Jamal Murray and Joker, this series would have probably been over sooner. But you had to give them the experience, edge, and the heart of a defend or a former champion. I definitely don't believe this series is going to be close. I would be surprised if they actually go to like 6 games. I believe it's going to be a gentleman's sweep, and OKC will be waiting for the next opponent. That's just my opinion. So those are my predictions right now. I still have the Knicks as an edge, and I have them as 3.5 point favorite, and then I give OKC a 7.5 point favorite. I believe those would be the teams who possibly will be in the finals. Even though I like Indiana better, it's still a possibility. I wouldn't lose any sleep and wouldn't say if Indiana did make it to the finals that they didn't deserve to be there. But I believe, and I'm not trying to be funny, and I know people probably look at me on the show and probably give me bad vibes for this, but I've discussed this before, on the Google Sports session, me and E-Buck. This is what they want. They would love for a big market team for like the New York Knicks to go to the finals, and I'm not too far fetched from it, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I want to move on now, and I want to talk about some of the things that transpired in the NFL. I want to get this out the way, and I want to talk about this because I believe this is something that I want to ask other people's opinions and see where you come from when I ask these questions. I believe right now in the NFL, the teams who had the best offseason is two, maybe three teams right now who did really good, had some good grades. But I believe with their coaching and the experience of some of the coaches and just basically how stacked their rosters are, this is the reason why I'm saying I believe these teams are going to do so well. And one of the teams right now, I feel like, of course, is the New England Patriots. I feel like them having Drake May last year, that means they already have their franchise quarterback. They ended up trying to get some really good pieces for him in the draft. They did really exceptionally well when it came to the defensive end, too, when the free agency. They got Stephon Diggs over there now as a number one wide receiver who will help develop Drake May. You got Will Campbell as one of the best, left tackles slash guards in the league right now from LSU. Like I said, they bulked up the defense, but the main X factor to me why I think that they're going to do well is because of their coach, Mike Vrabel. We all know Mike Vrabel. He's one of those guys who was a grit and one of those hardworking guys who just basically came to work every day and did his job. Mike Vrabel was one of the guys who have 3 Super Bowl championships with the New England Patriots, let alone some Super Bowl passes, to win games for the franchise. He moved on to play or coach for the Tennessee Titans. And when he coached the Tennessee Titans, he did a really good job beating New England at their own game. He got those hard nosed guys who went over there and competed and punched them in the mouth for the most part. Now he's bringing that pedigree over to New England. He already was one of those hard nosed, really good, coaches who you want to play for. But then he bulked up that defense and then really had an A on the draft. I gave him an A plus, honestly. But with the additions on defense of Carlton Davis, you had Milton Williams, Harold Landry III, who played with him or who was one of his players in Tennessee. And then you end up getting another edge and Levon Kaysen. You get the 5th round edge in Braden Swenson, right tackle Morgan Moses. You get the center Garrett Bradbury and Mac Hollins, who's going to be one of those good utility wide receivers over there who can help out and definitely be like a security blanket. He's a real tall, linky guy who could catch a lot of good passes. And I like the pick too with Travion Henderson. I know a lot of people probably don't like him from Michigan, but I thought it was a really good pick because Ramondre Stevenson is one of those guys that he's explosive. He has the talent but he fumbles the ball a lot, and I believe he leave a lot of plays out there on the field. So this is letting him know the competition is there, and he's going to have to step up his game if he want to keep his job. Because I still feel like Mike Vrabel don't have no attachments to this new team except for the guys that he brought over. Anybody on the team can still be replaced. I definitely like the wide receiver Kyle Williams too that they added, and Jared Wilson. So I definitely believe that they'll be one of the teams who didn't make the playoffs, who will make a push, or if not, will make the playoffs because I heard some talking heads talking about this before. They said right now, just from the roster that was built, that they are the second best team, in the division. We know the Buffalo Bills still rule that division right now. It feels kind of funny saying that because how long the Patriots have ruled that division, I believe it was like 20 seasons straight. But the king of the mountain right now is still the Buffalo Bills. But I believe roster wise, the New England Patriots made themselves like second. And then you turn around, you have them having one of the second best rosters and just having a really good, solid coaching staff and the pedigree to win with the Mike Vrabel. And I believe just the key additions from the offseason and then the good, draft that they had, that they will be neck and neck and they will competing really strong to get their reins back to be the king of the AFC East. I want to move on and I want to talk about another team who I believe is going to be one of the teams who we automatically thought that it was going to be that way last season. But I think it was prematurely said. Yeah, they ended up bulking up their roster, but one of the issues they had was they didn't solidify their front, as the offensive line. Hell, they didn't even solidify their defensive line either. They got help on both sides, and I believe they had a really solid draft as well. And that's the Chicago Bears. I definitely don't like to say that because I believe one of the additions is to, like I said before, the X factor is their head coach and Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson know what we have and he know a lot of our playbook. I believe there's going to be changes now with John Morton in the house and in the building, but still some of the stuff going to be the same. I don't know if he'll be able to figure it out with the new team or what he'll be able to do. But by Ben Johnson being there on the offense and on our offense and defense, I believe that's definitely an X factor, him going over to the Chicago Bears and being a good coach as far as an offensive coordinator. Sometimes that don't materialize in the league, though. You being a good, offensive coordinator and turning around and being a good coach. Sometimes it happens. A lot of times it don't. So we'll have to see about that. But him having the number one overall draft pick last season definitely didn't hurt things too. And Caleb Williams. It's funny too because Matt Eberflus is definitely an afterthought after getting a coach that good, and well sound as Ben Johnson. We know because he was the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. But when they added the guard Jonah Jackson, and then you get Joe Tunney. And I think those was really two additions that they really needed. You got them, got them from a trade from the Rams and the Chiefs. I was surprised that they ended up doing that. The Chiefs let Joe Tunney go, but I believe now that the older he was getting and the older that, offensive line was getting, they needed to get a little young blood on that line, more athletic guys. And then you end up getting one of the better, players in Drew Dahlman over there that they got from Atlanta in free agency, their center. You ended up getting a really good additions too, and in an edge, Dale Adeyinbo. I'm hoping I said his name right because I know I butcher a lot of names. And defensive tackle Grady Jarrett from Atlanta. I believe he was one of the best guys when you look at as far as a pass rusher from the interior. But then it was questionable for me at first with the Colston Loveland, as the tight end. No disrespect. I think he was the second best overall. But when you had Tyler Warren, I think that they should have pulled the trigger on him because he can block his ball and you can use him more like one of those true receiver types. But it's not really far-fetched. I believe still it's like with, Colston Loveland probably has more of the pedigree of a guy like a George Kittle versus, when you look at Tyler Warren, he can do it all. And he's more of a hybrid, like, you can mix him in like as a Travis Kelce when, he was in his prime. I believe that still that's going to be a pickup for them and that's going to help them out because Ben Johnson seen a lot of him because, he, coached and, he was with the Detroit Lions. So, Colston Loveland, by him being a Michigan native, I believe that was one of the keys to him getting that, pick and getting picked early like that in the draft. No disrespect because I still think he's going to flourish in that Chicago Bears offense. And one of the guys I was looking for is wide receivers and trying to figure out where they were going to go. One of the best ones that I felt like in the draft, because he's a tall, lanky wide receiver, was Luther Burden III. The issue was He played so well, the year before, and he kind of fell off this year. I believe a lot of it had to do with quarterback play too, and I can't blame it all on him. But I'm just trying to figure out what he's going to do when the chance comes for him to play now with a team as the Chicago Bears because they got really young, on the wide receiver core because they got rid of Keenan Allen. Last but not least, this was a team last year who I didn't expect a lot from, but then I like to see them flourish. And first and foremost, I just didn't like a lot of the rumors about Kyler Murray, and they were saying they wanted to get rid of him, and how they really threw him under the bus and saying that he was more into video games than to actually executing and studying what his notebook was saying in football. He couldn't materialize it, he couldn't put that to play, and I didn't like them dogging him out like that, saying, "Oh man, he can play all these Call of Duties and all these games, but he can't, digest or dissect and see what's going on in a playbook and put it on the field." He just go out there and freestyle all the time. Coming from his injury, I believe that that was a proven year, and he proved that he belonged and he was a good quarterback. He excelled and played well. It was some games that they still left out on the table, unfortunately. I can't really blame it on him. I would have to say it was the defense that let them down, but I'm still happy with the product that they brought out there last year, and I don't even think they had half the talent as they do now, in which I'm going to say this is the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon was a great defensive coordinator, and I believe he's a good coach because he focused on defense, and he's not far fetched from really going and getting good stuff going on and bringing good things and good vibes to their offense. Because I know Kyler Murray is definitely happy and he's satisfied with what's going on. Because I mean, he got Marcus Harris Jr. Over there, so who wouldn't be happy with a guy who's good and he's a great caliber wide receiver? But with them getting the additions of the edge, Josh Sweat, they ended up getting defensive tackle Dalvin Thompson and edge Baron Browning, who I always felt like who had a high upside as a player. He just had a lot of injuries. And I like linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither. The defense in the draft definitely picked up too. I like Walter Nolan. I definitely feel like he's going to be a good defensive tackle. One of the guys that I cherish, even though I still got a little bit of a love-hate relationship with him, was Will Johnson. I was surprised that he dropped into that second round. I believe more or less it was injuries versus talent. But I was a little bitter with him too, the way he played us last season with Michigan. But I'm not even going to really get off into that because I feel like he was healthy and could have played a lot more games. But you can't be mad at a person saying, I got to invest in and I got to focus on my future, rather than, taking a risk and getting hurt again. So I really can't be too mad at Will Johnson. I moved on from it. And I hope other Michiganders moved on too. I like the addition too with Jordan Birch and Cody Simon because I believe those are guys who are rookies and they're going to be like some guys who can come in and plug and play and maybe even start for the team. I just believe right now with the coaching, and I'm not even going to even say right now with Ben Johnson because yeah, he's new, and I still believe that that don't really mean nothing because how well he played. But I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. And I just believe just from Jonathan Gannon being a really good coach, and not only Jonathan Gannon being a really good coach, but just believing in the fact that you have a good coach in Mike Vrabel who's done good before in the past and who definitely really did something to make that team special with the Tennessee Titans and compete the year when they shot New England with Derrick Henry, and there's a lot of history there. So I just believe with the two coaches in hand, like I said, Jonathan Gannon, and then you turn around and you have a guy like a Mike Vrabel. I believe those are some of the reasons why those teams are playoff caliber teams right now. I want to get off into some of the WNBA action too, and I want to start off by saying, man, the season definitely didn't disappoint now. Just been really good basketball in hand. One of the craziest games I saw, and I kind of figured that it was going to end the way it did too, was the Liberty with the rematch with the Aces. Right now, I don't really think the Aces really got that chemistry yet with Jewel Lloyd. But then when you got a team like New York who's been together for a while, and then you got, somebody over there like Brianna Stewart, and then, you got Anescu, and you just got a really good squad of women. It's going to be hard, man. I definitely wouldn't count them out as being one of the teams who I think potentially can go back to back too, as well, like the Aces did. Brianna Stewart had 25 points to lead off scorers on our team, and my homegirl Jonquel Jones had 10 rebounds. And when you look at it too, I believe the addition of Natasha Cloud with the 9 assists definitely helped out. I believe she's going to be a great facilitator and just really is going to make New York a little stronger. Just how I was looking at Jewel Loy, I believe their additions are going to definitely help them too and possibly be able to be back to back champs. I love Asia Wilson, man. She did what she always do. She had 31 points and 16 rebounds. Jackie Young had 5 assists, but I just didn't really think that one of the Achilles heels, should I say, and when watching that game. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were shooting threes and they were shooting way too many threes. That was off. And I believe they started to play that NBA style basketball where they were shooting way too many threes. And when they were off, they were off. And the New York Liberty capitalized on it. And that's the reason why the game was so out of hand. And that final score was 92-78. I was very disappointed, but I know too, you win by the three and you die by the three. This was a really good one right here. And I know they always hype this up from the college days of LSU and Iowa with the two ladies once again meeting, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. The New York Sky versus the Indiana Fever. Man, that was a crazy contest, man, because I just really like the way the Fever is playing right now. They just got a really solid squad, and the additions too make them very dangerous with Dewana Bonner, and just everybody wanted to go over there and play with them. I already like Caitlin Clark, and Alea Boston is deep in my heart because she's a South Carolina, female, and that's one of my favorite, basketball college teams. But then I actually like Kelsey Mitchell too. But then, I just really feel like that's a really good, scrappy team. Big ups to Caitlin Clark too from having her triple double in that game. She had 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. And Alea Boston contributed with 13 rebounds. But you still can't take credit from old girl Angel Reese. She had 12 points and she had 17 rebounds in a very dominant performance. Still didn't matter because at the end of the end of the day, it was very embarrassing, if I may add, to beat those women that bad. It was 93-58. I believe that the Fever had a lot to prove, but then what was funny too, I believe a lot of people even look at it and thought that the altercation between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark was from last season when Sinead Kennedy did what she did. I might have said her name wrong. I think it was Kennedy Carter. I'm sorry about that, you guys, which she's not in the league right now. She's over playing in Mexico. But I believe it was still backlash from that when, Kennedy Carter got the little cheap shot in on Caitlin Clark last year and, Andrew Reese, and it seemed like they were just basically out to get her. I don't know if it was really about that, but I just believe it was really a legal play. It was just that Caitlin Clark was a little bit more aggressive with the play. I don't think it was really that intentional. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but that's the game of basketball. And then they had to be separated. I don't think Caitlin Clark was really trying to get into a fight or nothing, but I just believe Angel Reese was feeling some kind of way. And they were actually embarrassed for getting blew out the way they were. I just believe right now the Fever are going in this direction and the Sky is kind of going down in this direction. I'm really hoping that they can succeed. But until then, after having that really lopsided loss, we'll have to wait and see. But that was one of the better games to me that I thought because it's always tension with her and Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark being said. And this was a more of a shocking game to me with the Seattle Storm and Phoenix Mercury. But it was a really good game. I definitely like this game because Skylar Diggins played really good. She had 21 points in this game, and she looked really good. She's good from the three-point line, and she's very consistent. She's a shorter caliber player, but she's a scrappy player. But my homegirl Satu Sabali, she really stepped her game up. She had 27 points over there, and with her and Elisa Thompson being over on that team, it's a whole different team. I definitely like what they got over there. And it's funny because the teams are so different now from all the players are exiting and going to different teams. Some of the teams look like super teams early. Some of the teams have to really get their chemistry together. But this is one of the teams right now with Phoenix Mercury, with Alyssa Thompson and my homegirl Satu Sabali. I feel like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But that score basically showed the same thing as well because that final score was 81-59. So it was a lot of blowout victories, in this one. But to see a new team do that was kind of shocking in a way. I have to give credit too for two rookies who's been stepping their game up. And now the Washington Mystics are 2-0. Ain't no way in hell you would have told me that the Mystics would have been 2-0 right now, as bad as they played over the years. But two players and the two additions to the team from the WNBA draft, Sonia Citron and Kiki Arifin, really stepped their games up and they look like they belong right now. I'm so happy for them women because both of them were in, a position where they thought that their team can make it and win a championship. But when Juju Watkins got hurt, that made, USC obsolete. And the injury to Olivia Miller and then the things that materialized in Notre Dame, which we didn't know what was going on. It was just really sad to see those teams did not be able to really go all the way. But to have them two together just really make that team dangerous. I really enjoyed the games and was really shocked, but it wasn't even them who really, stood out that much. Even though, don't get me wrong, as rookies, I believe they really looked sharp. But Brittany Sykes with the 27 points that she had in the game. Like I said, Kiki Arfin definitely stepped her game up with the 14 rebounds too. And I just really feel like that's going to be a team to be reckoned with. Yeah, they're young and they might take a step back and have some growing pains, but it was really excited to see how well they played. And Tina Charles really looked good too for the Connecticut Sun. She had 23 points and 10 rebounds, but it didn't really matter at the end. I mean, it wasn't a blowout victory, but it's good to see a young team like this mixed with some of the veteran players and some of the rookies that stepped their game up. And that final score was 90-85. But like I said, it was fun to see because when you looked at this game, you had two rookies and they're 2-0 right now coming not too long ago, maybe like 2 to 3 weeks ago from college to translate that to the WNBA. I definitely want to get with you guys and let you know too. I don't know when. I know I've been busy right now trying to build this brand, my Guru Perspective, and we're trying to continue to build our brand too on Wednesdays, the Guru Sports Session, me and my co-host Eba. But I'm still trying to get together and get with my big brother LeVar McGee and get everything situated too for the Detroit Lions Sunday broadcast we're going to do around 8 p.m. No, 8 a.m. And we're going to talk nothing but, Lion sports. And I'm really happy about it. Me being a Detroit native, I want to help out and I want to do what I could and put my twist onto it and just hoping I can do that soon. And I got to get the name and we got to get all that together and figure out what we're going to do. But that's going to be another project that I'll do, on NFL Sunday. So stay tuned to that. And I know E's going to do something too. E-Buck, and it's going to be What's Up in the Dub. I love the name. I thought that was clever. And I just hope he have a lot of success. And hell, I'm going to ask him right now, if he don't mind, I would like to step in and do some shows to kind of help out too, because I'm starting to become a very huge fan of the WNBA. I've been watching 4 years strong now. So I've been getting to still learn the players and learn more about the sport than what I have before. I'm just glad that I've jumped on the bandwagon when the Las Vegas Aces won their back-to-back championships. So I've been definitely in tune and enjoying what's going on in the sports. And I hope a lot of other people, male and female, start to chime in and look at the WNBA because they're really taking off. And I've just been really happy with what they've been doing and where they've been from so many years ago to really people not really paying attention to the sports to filling out and selling out arenas everywhere. Just hope now with the WNBA Players Association that they can get everything together and start giving these women the money that they deserve. So when it comes down to it, they don't have to go overseas and go other places like Kennedy Carter and other players to make a living. That being said, I would like to say thank you all for always chiming in and showing us love on the show. And for the people who are always chiming in, like Joe, Roll, Coach V, my sister Harriet, Veronica, my sister Sanella, everyone who's been chiming in and giving me love and supporting me on YouTube and on all my platforms. My man's Eric Merriweather, who always show love, on Instagram, and for all the people who show me love on TikTok. I am so humbled, man. You guys don't know how special that is to me, for me promoting. Y'all give me, good love and shout out on my reels. I'm getting over almost 10,000 views. I'm getting love from, just the podcast and my brand alone too as well. So I like to thank you guys and all the people who always show love on Facebook, my Facebook family, my high school friends, and my family and loved ones, in the neighborhood, man. Just keep clicking that like and subscribe button and show me love. Can't forget about my homeboy Ruben, Jay Thomas the third too, because he always showing me love. He always watches shows, critique, let me know what he want to hear. And a lot of other people I want to chime in on that as well. So if you have something you want me to put on the show and anything interesting you want me to talk about that you feel like I'm not talking about, please chime in. And like I said, you can hit me up on these platforms right here. Let me know what you want me to talk about, and I'll definitely do it. I'm not going to shy away from it. Whatever needs to be explained, I will do. You can find me at Hoovy on Instagram, Sports Guru to you on Facebook for the time being, and Hugh.Lee6 on TikTok. And like I said, if you got any questions or anything you want to chime in on, reach me at sportsguru2you@gmail.com. Thank you. And until then, peace until the next episode. And I'm out.